Hello everyone, this is Aussie Legend. Today I'm going to run through the games I'm looking forward to most seeing this year at E3. Now let me just explain this for a bit. By games I'm looking forward to, this doesn't mean the games I actually want to play the most. I mean, these are the games I'm looking for when I'm going through E3 information, videos and such. I mean, for example, Borderlands 2 is probably the game I want to play the most this year, and it's not on the list because they don't really need to sell that game to me any further. Also, no rumours, strictly confirmed titles that I know are going to be shown at E3. Okay, so let's jump in! You know what can improve a shooter? Guaranteed. Fucking dinosaurs. Primal Carnage is an indie multiplayer PC title which pits teams of mercenaries against a team of dinosaurs, similar to how Versus mode works in Left 4 Dead. Both teams consist of 5 different classes. The mercenaries consist of you playing as a standard tank, sniper, engineering class, but for the dinosaurs you get to play as different species of dinosaur, ranging from Pterodon, an aerial infantry unit, to the big mighty T-Rex, or essentially Primal Carnage's version of the tank from the game's main inspiration Left 4 Dead. Now, don't tell me watching this badass footage in the background isn't making you want to play the game. I'm just gonna get this out of the way early, Arma 2 is freaking amazing. The most realistic shooter sim in history is getting a sequel and it looks boss. Hell, it might even get a badass zombie mod like Arma 2 currently has going for it. I mean, if you haven't played DayZ yet, you really should because it's actually really cool. Anyways, Arma 3 looks awesome and you should keep it on your radar, especially if you're a military shooter fan, like a Battlefield fan, or something of that type. Do you know what's better than paying for games? Getting them for absolutely free. Free-to-play games are becoming more and more common over the last year or so, and it's probably one of the biggest and most influential trends to come out of this generation. And there's two of these that I wanted to point out to you. The first one is Hawken. Now, I don't mind admitting that I'm a bit of a mech fetish, but for the longest time my mech game of choice had been Mech Warrior, of course, which ironically also has a new iteration coming out this year and is also free-to-play. But I mean, Hawken just looks better. I mean, it looks faster paced and it runs on CryEngine 3. I mean, where can you go wrong? The other game I wanted to mention was PlanetSide 2, a sequel to 2003's MMO PlanetSide 1. I mean, do you ever get sick of those 16-player COD matches? Ever get sick of those 64-player Battlefield matches? How does 3,000-player game sound? Yeah, that's right, 3,000. 1,000 per side. On top of that, there's a great deal of customizable gear and equipment, huge battlefields, vehicles, and I mean, it's free to play. I mean, 3,000 players. Do I need to say anything else? Everyone loves Double Fine, right? I mean, of course they do, they're fucking bosses. As I own pretty much everything that Double Fine has ever produced, you could say that I'm a big fan. Just recently announced, Gilbert's latest baby called The Cave is a puzzle platformer with open-world Metroidvania type elements. With the usual Double Fine charm, The Cave looks to be another $15 I'm gonna lose to Double Fine this year. Oh great. Surprise! Yeah, I'm actually interested in Black Ops 2. Bite me. Having not played through to the end of a Call of Duty campaign before, Black Ops 2 stands the biggest chance of this with its far more interesting near future setting, with extrapolated to current tech including drones, mechs, and all that good shit. With the promise of branching story paths, new sandbox-style Strike Force missions, and on top of the usual multiplayer and zombie modes which Treyarch have been building upon from iteration to iteration, I think we could be in for the shake-up that the series has badly needed for years. Ah, Lara Croft. Now your games have sucked. Last year, Studio Crystal Dynamics started a new, better era of Lara Croft games with the release of the downloadable title Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light. It was a game that I really enjoyed. They are now tackling a fully fledged Tomb Raider in the form of a reboot, called Tomb Raider. Damn it, I hate when they do that. A grittier, more realistic Lara and story, I promised, which is certainly held up by the amazing media that's come out for the game so far. With gameplay heavily influenced by the great Uncharted series, this game is one to watch. Does anyone even remember this game? No? Well, I do. Rainbow Six has been a game series that I've loved over the years. I mean, really more the earlier tactical Xbox, but Rainbow Six Patriot separates the game from a lot of other military shooters by the fact that the terrorists portrayed in the game aren't even from Middle Eastern descent. They are instead a right-wing revolutionist American group called the True Patriots, which are rising up against the oppressive and corrupt practices of the US politicians. So basically this is a shooter with a decent story, which is okay by me. You love Portal, right? Of course you do. Everyone loves Portal. What would you say if I gave you a game like Portal, made by one of the creators of Portal? Nodding your head? That game is Quantum Conundrum, the love project of former Valve head lead designer Kim Swift. A game promising a similar blend of quirky humor and puzzles that will require you to literally switch between different dimensions. And I'm not just talking a third dimension and shit, I'm talking like a fluffy dimension. which turns everything cute and cuddly and greatly reduces the weight of objects, meaning you'll be able to throw away metal safes with ease. And of course there are other dimensions, such as ones that reverse gravity and slow down time. If you're as big a fan of puzzle games as I am, this has got to be high up on your list. Metroid 2033 is a severely underrated game. It came out in 2010 and has some of the best, most atmospheric worlds in a video game ever. Sadly, there were also downsides, like the AI, which was absolutely freaking retarded. THQ and developers 4A Games are looking to remedy this with the sequel Metro Last Light. I mean, if they can fulfill their promise of fixing all the problems and improving on the game's combat, this could be a real Game of the Year contender next year. I'm not even sure a lot of people know about this, but there's a sequel to Amnesia coming this year. You know, Amnesia, that small indie game which got wide acclaim for being scary as fuck. Although there hasn't been a whole lot of information given out so far by a couple of haunting images, I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. Not necessarily in the story of the game, but the world that the game takes place in. From what has been released, we know that the game takes place in 1899 in London, in which you play an industry tycoon who's been having nightmares of a mysterious dark machine after an incident in Mexico caused him to lose some of his memory. He wakes up after months in a coma to hear the rumbles of the machine from his nightmares in the distance. Sadly, that's about all the solid information we have at the moment. However, the lead producer of the game has promised, and I quote, "to fill your dreams with creaking machinery, the desperate cries of pigs being brutally slaughtered, the rattle of chains, and the dreadful feeling that something unspeakable is watching you from beyond." Scary shit, isn't it? I'm definitely looking forward to having a second pair of solid trousers this year when this game comes out. Okay, now I know at the top of the video I said there wasn't going to be any dealing with rumors. Now, I'm not totally breaking that rule because if you look around, there's a pretty friggin' big indicator, big fuck off neon lights pointing to the existence of Lords of Shadow 2. Hell, lead designer David Cox has basically confirmed it 100 times on Twitter. Not to mention there's going to be a trailer coming out on the 31st of May, which is probably going to be it. Okay, back on topic. The original Lords of Shadow was a brilliant game from 2010 and it's actually my game of the year behind Red Dead. The game is so criminally underrated and such a great game that people really need to play this game. Yeah, I know, the game borrows elements from a lot of different games, but it joins them so well together and cohesively that it became an experience one to its own. I mean, just on the ending itself, there's so many possibilities where this sequel could go. So yeah, you could say I'm a little excited about another Castlevania Lords of Shadow game. Are you sick of Assassin's Creed? Well, don't be, because the franchise is back where it belongs in the hands of Ubisoft Montreal. In development since just after the second game was released, Assassin's Creed 3 is shaping up to be that shake-up, much like Black Ops 2, that the franchise badly needs. The game finally leaves Italy and shoots across the Atlantic Ocean over to America this year, as new main character Connor finds himself in the middle of the American Revolution after he is home attacked by colonists, meeting great leaders such as George Washington, Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson in iconic cities such as Boston and New York, and a brand new overworld called the Frontier. With a brand new physics engine and completely new set of animations, Connor can swing from tree to tree with ease, running and diving through buildings, and take out colonists with a revamped combat system, not to mention a hunting system akin to the one found in Red Dead Redemption. And with all that said, it looks like a pretty sweet ass game. Okay, this one may be a bit of an obvious choice. The minds behind the brilliant Uncharted series are back, but this time they're taking a crack at that whole post-apocalypse zombie craze which is so popular with the kids. But instead of being just another zombie game, Naughty Dog are going to bring their trademark level of polish and character-driven experiences. In the game, you are helping the two main characters, Max Payne and Ellen Page, survive against not only mutated zombies, but other survivors as they make their way through the deserted, broken-down city, which has been overgrown with vegetation. Not a whole lot is known about the game at the moment. I mean, there's two really good trailers out, and I'm personally looking forward to a more human drama approach to a zombie game. So yeah, colour me intrigued. Okay, this one may come as a little bit of a surprise. I know that the Resident Evil franchise has lost a bit of its luster for a lot of people, but you will notice that both Resident Evil 6 and The Last of Us are both zombie games, and a lot of people would expect me to put The Last of Us above that, being a new franchise and all. Here's a couple of reasons why I've done that. I mean, probably the main reason is that Resident Evil 6 is so much more to lose than The Last of Us does. I mean, I trust Naughty Dog to create a fully fleshed out story with interesting characters and all that shit. Capcom, on the other hand, I don't trust as far as I can throw a disc with $50 worth of on-disc content on it. I know a lot of people outright hated the last biggest entry in the franchise, Resident Evil 5, a game which I personally enjoyed, to be honest. I mean, I really find the hate for it a little bit perplexing. Yeah, the game was much more linear and more action-driven, but it was still a fun game to play. The co-op was great. I think some people just need to take off their nostalgia glasses for just a second and go back and play Resident Evil 4. I mean, you'll notice that 4 and 5 aren't really that much different in terms of gameplay. The main complaint I hear is, "Grr, Resident Evil isn't survival horror anymore, grr, grr." Well, guess what? Resident Evil 4 wasn't either, guys. I mean, apart from the setting, which was a bit more conducive to a more tense atmosphere, and the fact that the story in Resident Evil 4 had much better pacing, 4 and 5 are actually a lot more similar than you'd actually like to admit. But that's enough about Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 6 has 3 separate campaigns. How the hell that will work? I mean, it also has a revamped Mercenaries mode. Resident Evil 6 is shaping up to be a great game. Fingers crossed that Capcom don't fuck it up. Okay, here goes, number 1. I was originally going to give this to the rumored next-gen Unreal Engine 3 Metroid game for the Wii U, because I'm like the biggest Metroid fan ever. But considering my rumor rule, I had to sadly forget about that. Aside from that, the game I'm looking forward to most this year and getting more information on is by far Arcane Studios developed and Bethesda published Dishonored. Dishonored is a game with emphasis placed on stealth over combat, where you play as a supernatural assassin. I mean, if you haven't gone pre-order the game by that sentence, I don't know what's going to make you do it. The guy you play as, named Corvo, expertly wields swords, daggers, guns, and a whole host of supernatural powers, including the ability to freeze time for a certain period, possess any living creature, summon plagues of animals such as rats, and even teleport across short distances. Again, not a whole lot of story details are known at this point, only that there's a being called the Outsider, who is part angel and part demon, and that the game takes place in a steampunk open-world futuristic version of Victorian England, which is absolutely awesome. I mean, just look at the footage running in the background. How freaking cool does that look? With a team made up of industry vets from lead guys from Deus Ex, Thief, Bioshock, and Victor Antonov, who is the lead art director for Half-Life 2's iconic City 17, you've got one badass-looking game. And with all that considered, that makes it my most anticipated game of E3 2012. Hope you guys enjoyed the little compilation there. Hope I turned you on to some games you didn't originally know about, and I'm heading off, so see yous.